Well, first of all, thank you to the BTA for inviting me to come to speak to you today. And the topic really is close to my heart. Services-led, technology-enabled, the road ahead. My background, I've been in my current role for 9 months as chairman of Ricoh Americas. So I'm responsible for Latin America, the United States, and Canada. And when I was appointed, and perhaps why I really enjoyed, looking forward to speaking about this topic, when I was appointed by President Kondo-san, he said, what I need you to do is accelerate Ricoh's transformation into a services-led company. So for the last 9 months, that's really what I've been focusing on. So I have a lot of ideas. I could talk for the rest of the day, although I feel there's some rotten fruit that could come at me. But I have I'm really looking forward to talking about this. I'm going to speak for about 40 minutes, and with a group like this, then throw it open for questions. I'm going to be around in the general sessions and the cocktail session this evening, so looking forward to it. So, first of all, question, do we need to change? Do you need to change? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is you are all very successful entrepreneurs, so I don't have the right to tell you if you need to change. You run your businesses, you've been very successful in setting up as an entrepreneur. But what I want to do is throw some thoughts out today as to, well, why I know Ricoh has to change. And I think this really looks at the whole industry, and this is our thoughts, and look forward to sharing those with you. And let's get going. So some of what I'm going to say is no news to you. So I may actually put a slightly different perspective on some of the points here. But let's look at the industry. I mean, we talk about paperless, but we really have a huge convergence of issues happening right now. First of all, technology. I'm going to talk a little bit about tablets and mobile. I don't think anyone would have perceived, the laptop started off, we started using laptops, but now with tablet, cloud-based, Amazon, Google, you look at the speed of change. So tremendous change in technology. Work styles. What do we hear about today? The mobile worker. How many of us are sitting here with our tablets? I mean, you just walk outside here, everyone's got a laptop going. Miraculously, there's actually free Wi-Fi here, which is very rare, but everyone is working on tablets. They're working, what are they doing? They're pulling down documents. We need to print some things, we don't need to print others, we're doing workflows. So work style shift, but also people. How are people working? Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but I have a 19-year-old daughter, and she's at school in England, but she rang me the other day and said, I have to write a letter. How do I do that? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, they won't take an email. She had never written, she's 19 years old, she'd never written a letter. And she probably wrote a thank you letter for a card years ago, but she hadn't written a letter at the age of 19. She had to write one to the school. So what do? Do I put an address somewhere? Where do I get a stamp? So generational shifts, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. You don't talk to your children, you text them. They're in the house, it's a quick way of getting an answer. You don't shout upstairs anymore. That doesn't get a response. But also, organizations. Working from home. Do we need an office? Are we downsizing real estate? Oh, one of the things, mobility of people being able to just sell their house and move. That's sort of not, that with the housing and the whole thing that's happened there, we're not so mobile. So I look at my leadership team, there's 1 in Florida, 3 in Atlanta, New Jersey, and we're in different places. So how do we actually work as an effective team? The traditional model of how companies are running different. So this is sort of the backdrop, and this doesn't even talk about paperless. We're going paperless. That's the problem if you're manufacturing paper, unless you have printers. So let's talk, I just want to throw a few statistics up here. First of all, I talk about tablets. Well, the adoption of tablets is unprecedented. 122 million, looking to go to 282 million in 3 years. And you see this, whether it's the Galaxy or the iPad or everything else, Microsoft, tablets are exploding. The 25 billionth app was downloaded from the App Store last year. 25 billion. I mean, this is sort of, these are incredible statistics. So our tablets here, how many of you starting to allow people to bring their own tablets to work? I want a BYOD. I mean, I just want to connect. I'll use my own tools. I don't need your laptop. Just give it to me in my tools. So how, you know, this is really an unprecedented change in terms of speed of adoption. When we talk about some stats on printing, I'm sure you all have your stories of you have customers. We certainly have customers who, I mean, I was actually talking to one of our dealers, actually in Florida. They're telling me their top customer went from doing 8 million impressions a year. The CEO brought in, we should really look at how we should print paper. They went to 2 million impressions a year in 1 year. So 2011, 8 million, 2012, 2 million. Same company growing. Now, not every company's done that, but we all have stories of that. So this is, you know, this is disruptive. So these are sort of analyst quotes. Again, I'm sure I'm not saying anything that you haven't seen before, whether it's IDC, whether it's Morgan Stanley. How many devices do we carry? Today we haven't quite got the devices fixed yet because we carry 3. I'm sitting there, I've got my iPad mini, I got my iPhone, I got my MacBook Pro, and I left a couple of iPads behind because I have the earlier series. So I mean, you know, in our house it's chaos. We just got to make sure we have different cases. So how many mobile devices are we managing? So this is really happening. And we are using outside work, teleworks. So now you're actually, you know, there's all sorts of things going on about where do you get answers to questions. And I'm not here to talk, I'm not a futurist talking about how we're going to go. But this is all in space that traditionally is where we would consider, you know, the paper would be the medium of transmission. So, our backdrop of what's going on is changing. Generational behavior. Talked a little bit about this when I referred to my daughter. So, roughly speaking, and you can make this chart a lot more, you can bring one more in called the millennials, but let's keep this simple. Baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y. Depends on whether I'm trying to be a boomer or a Gen X. I'm sort of in the middle there. But when you look at the typical behavior of a baby boomer, they were brought up on paper, they know how to use paper. They'll use technology, but I don't know about you, but if I'm reading a 15-page document, I'd rather have a hard copy of it and I'm going to make some notes on the 15-page document. I can do a tablet for 2 pages, but at 15 pages I'm struggling. When you get to Gen Y, they're a lot more comfortable with the technology, but they still like to, they move backwards and forwards. They go from digital to paper, and they will get to paper. When you get to Gen Y, so Gen X is paper to digital. When you get to Gen Y and the millennials, which is where our kids are coming through, you know, people going into college, they are paperless. They are totally comfortable in the digital medium. They don't need any form of paper. In fact, paper confuses them. And my daughter, how do I, you know, she had to write a check too. She'd never written a check. So all of a sudden she's in England, I got to pay someone, they can only pay with a check. And I'm sitting here, we're actually Skyping, she's showing me the picture of the check, and I'm saying, in that line, write this. And she's going, is that right? And I'm going, yes. But they don't need paper. But your workforce has all 3. And your customers' workforces have all 3. The management and the knowledge is with baby boomers. It's on paper. So we know where to go and get that. We look in the file. The difference in behavior when you get to Gen Y and millennials, they want to go find it themselves. They're used to finding it on a website. They search for the data. They don't actually want to interact, interestingly, face to face. They want to go online. They want to join your company, or they want to work for the customer. They want to work for your customers. And they just want to say, well, I got my tablet, show me where I go to find this, and I'll just pull down the data, or I'll send it to someone else. Now, that raises some very interesting security questions, because when they've got a business problem, they share it with their Facebook friends. They don't actually talk to their work colleagues. So there's some interesting dilemmas around security when you get into the Gen Y. So when you start looking at what can we be doing and where is our business going, this is what we've traditionally been experts at. We move the paper, we scan it, we store it, we print it. But what we're actually doing is we're moving information. And when you actually get to these 3 generations in the workforce, this is where we start to have different opportunities to use a lot of the technologies around the outside of this room and a lot of other technologies there. But if we just sit here and say, do you want to buy an MFP, do you want to buy a printer, we're going to have a problem, because this is not what our customer wants. Our customers want to know, how can I manage it? How can you help me with my problem? I've got all these different things. I've got technology coming in, I've got workers with different behaviors, and how do I manage my business to meet the need? So is there a need for us? And do we need to change? There's absolutely a need, but from Ricoh's case, I'll speak from us, we're recognizing our customers have significant problems here, but our traditional hardware, break-fix service, and some of the other services we've got around there, they're not enough to address these problems, and these are the problems our customers are facing. So I would argue that this is a very good sort of platform for change. So our environment is dramatically changing, but we've been through this before. There's a few grey hairs in the room. I still remember the first analog to digital. Wow, we're going to go digital. What does that mean? But we did well. We actually turned that into a profit opportunity. We replaced a ton of analog machines. We put digital in, we brought new services, we took away things from print. Great opportunity for us. Black and white to color. We're starting to go black and white. And now, it's not unusual. I meet dealers who over 50% of the products they sell are color enabled, whether it's B2C or color printers. So that we've gone from 10 years ago, color was the sort of the realm of production, color or big Tektronix custom printer. Now, color is the lifeblood. So instead of arguing whether a penny a click is going down to 0.45 a click or whatever, now it's, it was 9 cents, now it's a little lower than 9 cents. But we managed to do that. So we changed our businesses to adapt to color. We drove programs to sell more color. We generated more aftermarket, more profit. So we faced these in the past and we overcome. So to me, this information revolution is exactly the same. It's another significant shift in the way our customers do business. So we have the opportunity to change. So my view is we have a great opportunity. So if we say we have to change, what I'd like to do now is maybe change gears a little bit and share some thoughts over what has changed. What are some of the things that you can do? What are some of the things we can do? So really what these are, what I'm going to talk about now, are very much our thoughts after we've been very inwardly focused. I've spent a lot of time with my leadership team understanding how do you change. I had a very simple statement from my CEO. We need you to transform to a services-led company. So the first thing is, that's interesting. I've done different things in my life. I've changed from A to B. What does a services-led mean? How can I change from to if I don't know what to looks like? So spend a lot of time defining what does services-led actually mean. And then how do you put some concrete action plans to change? And the other thing with the United States, it's what makes it great and what makes it very difficult to do business at times, is we have so many different business environments. What you see in Manhattan is not what you see in Alaska, it's not what you see in Florida, it's not, so we have dealers that are, branches, our customer sets are huge. So the first thing that we did, and I've talked to a number of dealers on this topic, is first thing I would suggest you do is actually understand your current customers and your market. What is it that's your DNA? What are you doing? So, what sort of vertical markets are you in? Do you have a lot of insurance customers? Do you have a lot of medical customers? Do you have a lot of lawyers? Do you have a lot of government accounts? So, who are your customers? What are the vertical markets? What are they doing? Do you have manufacturing? How many employees do they have? What sort of employees? Are they fixed employees, or do they have a lot of mobile employees? Do they have a lot of young employees with tablets? How many locations are they? Are they set? Do they have one location, or do they have a lot of remote locations? So I think the first thing we start thinking about transferring, do we need to change is we've sort of done this before, but I think when you start moving into services-led, the thought of verticals and horizontals. And when I say horizontals, I'm talking about a business process. So accounts payable. And everyone, most businesses have an accounts payable function, But insurance companies clearly have very dedicated processes that relate purely to insurance or healthcare, whether it's medical records, claims management. So the first suggestion is really understand your current and potential customers. Because then you can start to think about what business problems are they facing? How well do you understand their problems? What relationships do you have with those customers? Go and understand the slightly different question outside of what they think you want to talk about. This can be very tricky, and some of you, I'm sure, have a great way to do this. But I would argue, I like to sort of use examples for this. So I was at a large customer in Charlotte, Fortune 1000 account, and I'd been running some time with the COO, who really was not available to our customers. Our guys were stuck with procurement, who just wanted, I want cheaper than last year, I want 80 instead of 100. And I went and had a very different conversation. I asked the CEO, I said, what is actually your business problem? And his business problem related to his employees. He was a retail, he had retail stores. And his problem was his metric was what percentage of his workforce in a store was customer facing. So he said, if I have 500 people in a store, how many of those are on the floor talking to customers versus behind the store making the store run? And when you started talking to him about, well, how do you use technology to do that? He was sort of looking at you as a verb, you're a copy guy. Why are you talking to me about that? And then you started talking about how we could use technology that we bring, whether it's the moving data around, what was being printed locally that could have been changed, reports that people were having to prepare reports for the stores which could have been pushed to a printer so they didn't need employees. But it totally changed the discussion. So how many of those types of discussions are you beginning to have with these customers to find out what it is that really they're looking for versus what is it that we traditionally have to sell? And so this I think is the first step to sort of understanding some thoughts of how you might want to change. The next one, and this is something that's different from everyone you hear will be different. What do you know how to do already? Many of you, I'm sure, carry different software lines. Many of you have employees with different skills. Many of you offer different things. Many of you have partnered with other local businesses that have capabilities. So one of the other things is, what are you already good at? And perhaps more closely, having worked out what that is, what else could you learn? What is not too far away from your core business? I think, one of the things that I think helps is moving slowly away from your core rather than making big reaches. I mean, all these approaches work, but just my thought. Do you already have some skills in-house? Do you have people that know how to manage different software or know how to talk about business process re-engineering or maybe some basic outsourcing? How do you do that? Who could you partner with? There are many other companies, they're around the side here, who are looking for distribution channels. You have customers. That's a very, very important aspect. And you traditionally have very, very loyal customers. How do you find people who want to partner with you to bring those customers? I'm going to talk a little bit more about partnering in a second, because I think this is something that's a little bit new to us. Traditionally, we have done everything. We have owned the customer. Everything that happened within that customer was in our sphere of influence. We delivered the product, we sold the product, we supplied them service, we built them, we provided them the tone-up. It was a very closed loop. When you start getting into services, you start opening up a little bit of that closed loop. Acquire it. Can you go and hire some people with the talent? If you've identified you have a lot of customers in this industry, maybe you need to hire someone that actually understands what that is. And this is all made, one of the challenges here, this can be very expensive. And clearly, I go around and I do meet lots of dealers, and some have, really made very big investments, and others are sort of a little, I'm not sure I'm ready to make the leap yet. I don't quite, know I'm comfortable if I can understand the ROI. So really understanding these sort of things as to what are some of your options based on your market. And these are very unique to your market and your customers. So there really is no one size fits all. And I think for all of us, we have the same discussions. I mean, we're looking at, I look at what might work in Brazil versus what might work in Canada versus, so it becomes very regional based on the customers. But trusting your partner, one of the things that we've had to learn ourselves, and this has been tough for us, but also working with dealers and working with partners, you tend to have to, you have to move to a different level of relationship. Excuse me. You have to have much more trust and be much more open. And in this environment, and I'm speaking as representing a manufacturer, and you obviously all are independent businessmen. That relationship sometimes has been, I would say they've been very good relationships, they're very strong relationships, but certain areas are, well, hold on, that's mine, and that's yours. We don't put these two together. And similarly with software partners, you start having to, well, who's the sub and who's the prime? Who's managing this contract? We're sort of sharing. So this gets very different. You're sharing revenue models. So this is a tough part of the negotiation of how far are you willing to build that trust. So you're moving away from a pure supplier-vendor relationship to one where you have mutual skin in the game. That our mutual success to the customer is dependent upon us appearing joined at the hip, and we can't be seen to be disagreeing. And that's a different, that starts putting different relationships and different discussions, and we're certainly finding that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So when you put all these different things together, you do move to that different level of trust. And so that's something else that we all have to get used to and work out what that means. So let me talk a little bit. I'm told I definitely didn't come here as a sales pitch, so this is more of how we've approached it. One of the things that, when we looked at the dealer channel and as a manufacturer, I mean, obviously our job is, and I think I'm speaking for any manufacturer at this point, our job is to have you succeed. When you're successful, it's better for us. So one of the things we looked at when we looked at these resources, we changed Ricoh dramatically to do this, was most of our technology and services, if you want to call that wide group, was perceived to be located in our direct organization. Well, hold on, why would they're my competitor, we don't like each other, and blah, blah, blah. But having said that, we've invested all this money in this expertise, and at the end of the day, that expertise was for the customer, it was for the end user customer. So whether it was our direct customer or the dealer customer, we didn't care. We needed to bring that resource in. So through the chat, what we did there was to actually say, we want to make anything we can do for our customers, we're going to make those resources available to our dealers. And you can see that is a huge difference in trust, because now you potentially are going to bring a Ricoh person into your customer and show them their problem, not just the traditional speeds and feeds or a technical thing. You're going to now start talking about, well, maybe we can design, we've got designing software solutions, or we can bring in IT services. So, the simple methodology of champs for us in services in terms of how to help the dealer, so anything we have is available to you to deploy the customer. But how do we make that work together? Because, we're now sharing customers, we're sharing intellectual capital. Are you going to come and steal my customer? Well, why would it's an interesting dynamic. And we found in cases, we've had what I would call some great success, and we've had a lot of, maybe, I don't know if the word false starts, or we're beginning to learn as to how do we actually make this work for a dealer. I mean, multi-billion-dollar company, we can afford to make investments, but we still need to make those people work hard. So this is what we've done with Ricoh in terms of actually to make those partnerships work. And we've had some great success. And the biggest success has probably been brought out of necessity rather than desire. And when I say that, we've had instances where some of our dealers have come to us and said, well, we've had a very successful relationship with this customer, but now they want to bundle, they're going out for an RFP and they want to bring all these solutions. They want to bring the high volume print shop into the fleet. We've had the print, we can't manage a full-scale color print shop. So we're going to lose our fleet unless we can offer the print shop. So we said, okay, well, why don't we sell the print shop for you? You can have the revenue, we'll just service it. And all of a sudden we start working together and people realize, hey, that actually we won both because we brought on Ricoh's assumptions. So, we have various dealers. I don't talk for us, but I'm not going to read these out. But these are real stories whereby these dealers have had access to the Ricoh expertise, and I think that's something that I'm here to sort of be a generic advisor, but this is the way you can use partners. But this is a different sort of trust. This is not traditional trust. Trust has been give me a good price, give me a good product, be there to help me. But when you start actually talking about, come really into my customer, bring your engineers in, design the solution, and let's work on this together, you end up in a very different relationship. So again, now changing gears again, to talk about what else do you need to change. So it's very simple. Very simple, I shouldn't say that. So what I talk about is a very new way of looking at your business. But what else do you have to be ready for? So let's assume you do the first two. But you're also looking at some very other significant things to change. Is your administration system ready for that? Can you actually build these services? Can you build the software? Can you measure some of the SLAs that you're now being expected to manage to, in terms of whether it's scanning, whether it's number of invoices being processed. So as you do these services, how are you going to measure whether you're doing these properly? How are you going to build these systems? How do you monitor? If you've got many dealers I know set up network operations centers or NOCs or remote management and diagnostics. Are you really comfortable that you have the quality processes behind that to really stand up? It's very easy to say you do things, but when push comes to shove, are you really set up to understand how to monitor some of the things you're committing to? Services makes the discussion with the customer a lot different too, because you have to be very careful about making sure that the customer and yourselves are equally committing. Because in the past, as I said, we're self-sufficient. I mean, as long as you give me the room and the power drop, and more recently a network drop, I still control our own destiny. Now, lots of lessons learned, some of them painful, some of them not. But even with the largest of customers, you can get, we were into a debate, why doesn't this solution work? And the reality was the solution didn't work because their network infrastructure would never make it work. And the mutual due diligence of the customer didn't understand their own environment. And you have to be very careful about making sure that you make it very clear that this is what we're delivering, this is what you, the customer, is delivering. And that again adds to the complexity. So can you actually, you need the experience of how to contract for these types of services. Finally, how do you pay sales reps? So one of the things that we looked at when you say how do you transition to services, our compensation model, and in general the industry compensation model, hasn't changed forever. I mean, you have a revenue quota, you get a percentage of revenue, and you get a percentage of GP, and everyone has a slightly different methodology of whether you mark it up to rep cost or whether it's, however you do it, it's the same thing. You have a quota, you get a share of GP, you get a share of revenue. Some people are beginning to bring in share of aftermarket if you get contracted service on printers for MPS. But services is a totally different model. So, one of the things to look at is you say transition to services, transform to services, whatever the words you want to use, and then you go and look at a traditional compensation model and it says sell boxes, sell boxes, sell boxes. So how are you going to address the compensation question? And it's actually even more than that. Two words I'll use are the copier model is a transactional sale model. everything is geared around the lease is coming up, it's 3 years into a 4-year lease or 42 months into a 54-month lease. We better go back and we've got to look in that customer. It's all about account retention, retain 80% of your accounts, win 25% ZBA accounts, and life is good. But when you're selling services, services are continuous selling. The services come up, services don't exist on a machine life cycle. They don't care about depreciation cycles. And the service, look at tablets. I mean, 200 or 300 million tablets can slip in on the life of a copy of it.